Welcome to the Samco Fantasy Football Podcast with your hosts, Chris Garcia and six-time champ, Erick Garcia.
What is up? What's up? What's up? What's up? How we doing? Sam Crow Fantasy Football Podcast. Your host, Chris Garcia, my co-host. Say what's up.
What's up? One and only six-time champion.
The six-time champ. That's right. That's right. We're back. I don't even know what to say, but this was one of those weeks where, some teams are starting to sink in their water. Their ship is taken in, and others are like winning without really making that big of a splash. So lots of stuff happening this week in the Sam Crow Fantasy Football Podcast. Let's get into it.
Week in Review.
So, I think that when we look at, what happened this week and how we went up and how this came down, I think it's epitomized by my win over Leiden. Going into this one, the 125.46 versus the 101.38 from Leiden. Ouch. And I started off with a negative 0.70 with Ramondre Stevenson on a Thursday night, watching the Jets completely roll over the Patriots.
I don't know how you did it. You had 0 points from Rashid, minus 0.7 from Stevenson. Carr puts 10. Mark Andrews, 0 also. Holy crap. Like, your team would have lost to everybody else if it wasn't for Leiden. And sometimes you need that to be a champion. You need luck. And then unfortunately for Leiden, he just sucks.
Tell us how you really feel. Yeah, man. Like, honestly, going into the week, I don't remember what we said last week in terms of this matchup, but I know that it wasn't going to be something that I think I was overly confident, but I also wasn't fearing his team. But, Tyreek Hill can go off and everything can, go downhill from there. But I think I was less worried about Leiden's team per se, more than I was worried about the massive zeros and the shitty performances. Players like Ramondre, Shaheed was hitting like 28 points, like fucking 2 weeks in a row, and he comes out and puts a goose egg against Philly.
Yeah.
Thankfully, my mother frippin' neighbor is the real deal. And he pulls out a great game. Jet pulls out a great game. Even the Monday nighter, or what was it? Was Atlanta and KC a Sunday nighter or a Monday nighter?
Atlanta at KC was a Sunday nighter.
Was it Sunday night? Okay. Well, so yeah. So these were the things that had me more stressed than what I figured Leiden's team can do. And Leiden is just staring at another abysmal season with players that are just kind of working. I mean, I'm sure that he'll have great performances from certain players, but he's just not been able to find who's going to do what and when, kind of thing.
Well, first of all, outside of Leiden sucks, the other thing that I think about Leiden is that he's a prick for sneaking that trade off that I sent like literally a week ago and he accepted it when he realized George Kittle was injured. That was a bitch move, bro. So I'm glad he lost. And the thing is that he faces me next week, so you know how the universe works sometimes. He's probably going to beat the shit out of me with Kelsey.
You know, we have a section for league news, but this is the only league news. First of all, the fact that you would even blame Leiden for that, that's your own damn fault. If you put a trade out there and you don't know how to manage what you have out there, that's your damn fault. I don't know what you were thinking. And hopefully he shatters your dreams next week, but we'll get to that in a bit.
Perfect.
Speaking of dream shattering, Los Cornudos, Brad, goes off on the CMC owner, the CMC manager, who's having a hard time. My friend is literally dying. Like, it seems like there's a new injury every week to one of his players. I think, what did Laporta just get injured now? Mostert came into this week with an injury pickup. Like, my man's bleeding roster spots here, but you know, he got a 162 from his team. Unfortunately, he went up against Barkley, Henry, and Josh Allen that just went nuclear.
So just like the opposite about you having to feel the luck of playing the lowest scoring team, he, Mr. Rob, went onto the other side of being so unlucky of facing the highest scoring team in the league this year.
Just terrible.
When it rains, it pours for my boy Rob, man.
Dude, like, and like, I mean, the numbers that he manufactured great performances. Like, you know, he got Singletary in there. I know Deontay Johnson was probably all he could do to put on a flex, but, you know, he came out and performed for him. I wouldn't say Cousins had a great game, but it wasn't like his alternate would have. Like, he really didn't leave much on the bench. Well, I guess Myers, but would you be taking off Devontae Smith? Maybe Antonio Pierce? Or is it Antonio Pierce or Alec Pierce? I don't know what this guy's name is.
Oh, it's Alec Pierce. Yeah.
Is Alec Pierce? So yeah. Maybe that one, but like, I mean, pre-game, like I'm going to flip a coin to decide if it's Pierce or if it's, it would be Myers, and, you know,
Myers
whatever.
Hasn't done shit. Like, the reality is that Rob team is suffering this year. Injuries, underperforming. It's going to be a tough, long year for Rob. There's nothing he can do because who the hell is going to play Josh Myers consistently? Like, nobody.
Yeah, nobody. And Madison found the end zone, but, like, you know, 3 carries, 3 for 3 on receptions. It's going to be tough. But on the other side, my man's, you know, the guy who gets los cuernos put on him, you know, he's flying high, right? Barkley, Henry had a great game demolishing the piece of shit Dallas Cowboys. Even Moore had a half decent game, but he's looking scary. I know Eckler's out, but I don't think Eckler was a always in kind of thing, and he was kind of probably a band-aid as Kyle Walker came back, but you know, his team is looking really scary.
Yeah, Josh Allen is back to his bullshit. You know, almost get 40 points on Jacksonville. Really did not have a good showing against Miami, but I think Josh Allen is back, and that's the kind of news that Brad needs to stay competitive. Barkley, like you just said, showed up. Henry, monster game. His team is chugging along. And on top of that,
it wasn't like that last week against Miami was a loss for Buffalo. It was just that they were up by so much, and then Tua got injured that they didn't really do anything other than run the ball after.
Yep. I was going to say he's also getting most likely Kenneth Walker back either next week coming up or the week after that, which will be a perfect pairing to put with Barkley and Henry as a flex, and maybe even having Austin Eckler as that fourth. That's a dangerous group.
Yeah, no, his team is that's scary. And, you know, Goff is going to get 4,000 likely yards, 20-ish plus touchdowns. You know, he's got a scary team going forward. And at 2-1, he's now sort of positioned in a spot where you're like, okay, I'm in it at 0-3. Listen, you've made people have made 0-3 moves, 0-4 moves to get into the playoffs, to even run for a championship, right? So it's not
Yep.
over for Rob. He just needs to get busy. He needs to get on the phone. He needs to find
Oh yeah.
he needs to find trades, man. Like, you can't just sit there with CMC on a freaking IR, man. Like, maybe grab somebody that could use him later. And like when you got
Yeah.
Jet last year, and Jet was going to sit on IR for like,
Yep.
6 weeks or whatever, you traded him away and you got something.
You have to. Like, you can't invest. You don't have the luxury of saying that, oh, I'll keep them for when they're back. You're gonna be gone. I am in the situation right now, being 3-0, that I can hold Nick Chubb. I could say to myself, I'm 3-0, baby. I can hold Nick Chubb. But when you're 0-3, you got to offload stars to get some return, and that's just facts, Jack.
That is facts, man. And speaking of facts, the six-time champ, 154 over Alex, 139. Was that right? Alex was projected for 118. Damn.
No,
Like,
no. Mixon was out. I think Mixon was out Saturday night. I think they officially ruled him out. So Alex didn't pay attention to his lineup and did not make that change. Same thing with Jordan Addison. I don't know what happened with Jordan Addison. Was he a 2:00 start? Because there's no way Alex just did not play two people like that. But nevertheless, his team didn't even do too bad for people that two people were out. He could have beat me. So if he only paid attention, so Alex, if you're hearing this, you could have possibly beat me this week if you managed your team better.
yeah, Alex, you fucked up, man. Like, I have Mixon in another league. I knew Mixon was out long time. Like, I knew he was out. He just didn't fucking pay attention. That's what happened. Addison, I can maybe sneak that one in, but as a Joe Mixon owner in another league, I knew Mixon was out, and I was making moves in the waiver wire to try to get that. So that he has no excuse there. Addison, fine, but Joe Mixon, nah.
Even then, I just did some calculations really quickly. If he would have put the running back for Cincinnati or Cowboys, they both averaged 8.6.
Yeah,
8.9.
say Dowd.
Yeah, say Dowd, and he put Corey Sutton or Adam Lazar in for Addison, he would have beat me 162 to 154.
Wow, Alex. Wow. You're 0-2 and you're not wow. No, that's fucked up. That's fucked up.
I got lucky.
You got lucky. And let's see how your team did. Jonathan Taylor did really good. Alvin Kamara did all right. I don't know who the fuck Coleman is. If he was supposed to be a rookie, Zay Flowers is doing what every wide receiver catcher is doing in Baltimore, not doing shit. Reed, Goddard. Damn, that's what Goddard really did. Oh, and it was that last play too, hey, where Goddard gets like 60 yards because New Orleans, they can grab their freaking packages in the Cowboys, but they can't, do whatever the hell that they were doing and not cover Goddard. Steele is terrible. I mean, your bright spot, really the man that led your whole team there was Dak Prescott.
Yeah, he came back roaring against my Ravens, man, but still couldn't close the show.
Yeah, Jalen Hurts, hey, no, that's a couple of bad games for Jalen. No, sorry. He got 22, 26, so he's all doing okay. He's QB 8 though. Like, that's not what you would expect from the first round pick. From a fantasy perspective, when you have Dak as QB 7, so it's like, and Dak you got probably when do you estimate you would have gotten Dak in terms of draft capital? Second round, third round, maybe?
Back to back. Second, remember I went first and second quarterbacks. But yeah, my team it just had some underachievers there. My wide receivers combined for a total of 20 points, all three of them, so that's not good. And then my two flexes combined for a total of 10 points. So not good. It was really up to Jonathan Taylor, Kamara, and Dallas Goedert, Prescott to lead me to this victory.
And at 3-0, you're going to need that cushion because, Zay Flowers, Zach Moss, Gabe Davis, Shad Bateman, Quentin Johnston. All of these have in common?
Trash.
Bums. Straight bums. They're all bums.
Hey, man, look at my bench, though. I got Quentin Johnson.
All of those. Like, I named them all, right? Like, Quentin. I mean, so you definitely...
I'm just waiting for George Kittle, that cocksucking white boy, to come back.
and then you trade away freaking Kelsey. Oh, God.
Well, it's not like he did anything, too. Might as well just be on IR with how trash Kelsey is, so I'm glad he's playing like shit.
That's true. Speaking of playing like shit, Blake loses against Allen 128 to 149.
He's playing like shit. Oh, poor Blake is on fucking suicide watch.
Dude, Blake is like, I mean, Anthony Richardson goes for 9 points, which I'm starting to believe he is like not going to do well this year. I mean, he's going to be good for fantasy, but just like in general, like football quarterbacking, for like real life NFL football, he's not looking very good. That was on the Jonathan Taylor show this last little bit. But, Allen does what Allen does, right? He's got Charbonnet. He knew that. He spiked that. Marvin Harrison did okay. He's got a questionable tag. Did he come out injured?
Who?
Marvin. Oh, he was limited at practice. Marvin Harrison Jr. Yeah, but he should be okay. Metcalf went off that game. Kincaid, I think, is the only good tight end. No, he's tight end 11, so I guess that's not really good. Godwin did okay. Kyler Murray had a decent game, but, you didn't really need much of a, performance to kind of beat the other side with the lowly Jacobs 5 points, Mason 10 points,
Ridley
1 point. CeeDee Lamb choked it.
The double whammy here is that Blake left 75 points on the bench with 2 wide receivers.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that hurts. Jennings goes off for obviously a career high, but probably one of the biggest stat lines in wide receiver fantasy history that I've seen in a long time. Almost 50 points. Dude had 11 catches, almost 200 yards and 3 touchdowns. That was Kelvin Johnson type numbers, man. And he left that on the bench.
And Amari Cooper just trashed all season, but he just helps give Blake.
When it doesn't go your way, it doesn't go your way, man. That's what I've heard about fantasy. When things start to go downhill, it's like free fall. Man, it's just fantasy football's like that. That shit hurts. But you know what's also funny about fantasy? You can kind of control it with trades.
Yeah, no, you definitely. He's got to do something, man. Like, I mean, you're putting Ford and you're putting Akers, and you picked up Akers. Funny thing is they put the name trash on Akers. Daniels has actually shut my mouth. I didn't believe in this kid. But he's a real deal, man. What that cold touchdown that he threw, like the one I was trying to do with Dak in Madden today against you, Daniels nailed that. Like, he nailed it.
Don't bring that up, CeeLo. You got like eight interceptions against
9.
That was bad.
But yeah, QB2 on the year, man. QB1 is obviously my quarterback, my MVP, the one that on my team. The one that I drafted, the one that everybody passed on, thinking that everybody that was white or half white was going to be, the number 1 QB. But I knew that you had to go black. I knew you had to go deep south, Florida black, to get the actual QB1 of the NFL. But this boy, this Shadur looking MFer, he's balling, man. He's QB2. 4th overall fantasy football player of this year, according to our scoring, and number 2 overall. Like, good job, Blake, but it didn't mean anything. You still lost.
Hey, Blake, I'm open for a trade, buddy. Open for a trade, homie.
Yeah. Another guy that shut my mouth, Rashid Rice. I mean, man, this dude is doing really good. He's wide receiver 2 on the year. You know, he's just killing it right now, man. I did not expect that. He's got 288 yards, only 2 touchdowns, but you know,
You
24
know,
receptions on 29 targets. That's not sustainable either, though.
he's just because he's taking what Kelsey used to do. He's taking
Yeah.
those those slot down the middle passes, and it's clearly just the formula that works for Patrick Mahomes. Very Madden-ish, very slant. It used to be Tyreek Hill with the streaks, right? But now it's like everything is slant for
Yep.
KC. So somebody like Rashid Rice, who is extremely fast, it works out perfect. That old ass, washed up, country ass wannabe celebrity Travis Kelsey just ain't cutting it no more. So you got this little niglet taking it.
That's crazy. Speaking of white trash,
Speaking of,
there's never I could pull off a segue on like 80% of the things that we say to a next game, but for the last 2 weeks, the last game, there's nothing that comes up for a good segue.
trash.
But apparently Carlos threw out that some camel jockey comments. I don't know, he said it wasn't meant for George, but I don't know, you know what I mean? Like, and I don't know how much that would insult half of George because, on one hand, he's a wetback. On the other half, he's a camel jockey. So it's like, I guess he can decide when it's offensive for him or not. But Baby Back, what's his new name now? He changed his name. Baby Back what?
Gibbs.
Baby Back Gibbs. Good job.
Yeah.
Good job changing your name about 4 weeks into the season.
Classic.
Baby Back Gibbs George goes for 142 over 134. I've never really trusted his running backs. I do like that Thomas kid. I already talked about how I kind of fucked up and auto drafted and then it took the player that I wanted. I mean, Gibbs is real. I mean, the name is in the name. He gets away with putting the 2 Detroit running backs again. Like, this is like a risky play. It's working for him, but it's definitely risky.
Yeah, it's risky because it's not going to be. I mean, you never know. You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of when it was Mark Ingram and Alvin Kamara in New Orleans. You remember that shit in the early Kamara days?
Yeah.
It kind of worked out pretty well. So it could work out for him this year. That'd be sick if that was the situation. But if one of them goes down, usually how it works with these two is that when one goes down, the other guy who's by himself never performs well. They have to be a two-headed monster.
Yeah.
So it's a tricky situation for both. Stephon Diggs finally had a good game. That was a miracle.
Diggs had a good game. Hopkins actually had a decent game for him on the bench. And I was looking at his bench because I'm just like, well, what is he going to put in? Like, what is his alternative? And sure enough, he doesn't really have much down there. But, when I do see every once in a while off game by DeAndre Hopkins, you're like, okay. So he kind of has no choice. He has to put both of them in. And hopefully, for now, Montgomery is number 9 quarterback on the year in fantasy, and Jameer is 13 quarterback. So not the greatest numbers. That just shows that there will be a little bit of an inconsistency going forward. I didn't expect Adams to have such a crappy game against Carolina with only 8 points. That seems a little bit of a letdown for him.
Yeah, don't let him be mic'd up and say he wants to leave that trash ass team again, because I'm sure that's what's going to happen. I'm foreseeing it. Hey, you remember what I said the week before about how Amari Cooper was a trade target? I was like, watch out for Amari Cooper. I bet you they're going to trade him. There was talks literally like 3 or 4 days after I said that about Amari Cooper possibly going to a contender. Like, it was all over ESPN First Take. It was all over Instagram. I was like, shit, I'm a prophet. You know what else I'm going to say? Devontae Adams is another one that's going to be in that mix very soon. This is more low-hanging fruit, especially with his, I'm not sure if you've seen the docuseries of Receivers on Netflix.
Nope.
But he's not happy with Las Vegas. He's not happy. And you know where I think he's going to go? I'm gonna put this as
Don't just say it. Don't say it.
the guarantee for your this week's pick'em. It's Devontae Adams, Baltimore Ravens. Make it happen.
Oh God, I knew you were gonna say the Baltimore Ravens. You always think they're gonna get a wide receiver, and they never do.
I sound like a Lakers fan.
Yeah, literally. Somebody who's probably looking at his lineup and be like, "What the hell happened?" is Carlos, because Joe Burrow finally showed up. We said it, right? He was gonna have a first 3 or 4 weeks of the shitty 3 or 4 weeks of the season, but then he picks it up. So he did pick it up, and his two sort of linchpin wide receivers were doing good. I know Mike Evans let him down. That sucks because that was a terrible game all the way around. But he's probably got to be kicking himself, and probably what he's kicking himself even more is 1.4 from Isaiah Likely. I'm just gonna say this: your offense went from heavy tight end dependency to the tight ends don't exist, and they are just now 2 extra blockers on the field. Like, that's all they are. I don't know what happened. Maybe you can enlighten me, but and I think Carlos wants to be enlightened by what in the actual fuck has gone on with the tight end play at Baltimore. Can you explain it?
Yeah, different. It's just a shift now. It's Derrick Henry and more of a wide receiver passing game than
Zay
tight
Flowers
ends.
has got 5 points. What wide receivers?
Well, Odell Beckham Jr.
Dude, this is what's happened. You have gone back literally not to the 1940s, but literally to the 1930s, like before the Second World War, where they were trying to figure out if this sport was actually good or not, because it's only a few years old after the association split up rugby and soccer or football. That's how far back you guys are gone in terms of how you play. I'm not saying it doesn't work. But you got
back
Derrick
to
Henry.
We went to the Kyle Bowler Baltimore Ravens.
You guys have gone back to rugby, man.
Know how we won. Well, I know how we won.
This is the Dallas Cowboys.
Lamar Jackson passed it to like 12 people, and Derrick Henry ran almost for 200 yards. So it looks like that's going to be the successful recipe for Baltimore. But what I feel sorry about Carlos is the amount of fab dollars he spent for a combination of now 2 weeks in a row of 5 points.
Yeah, he definitely went points chasing from that week, and he thought that he was smart, but definitely failed. Definitely failed that. Like, literally, I picked up Zach Ertz, and I was gonna put him in, and I'm like, okay, I don't want to put him in, and against the Cowboys because I have zero faith in the Cowboys. I'm like, this is the game he's gonna go off, and well, you guys did go off, but Mark Andrews was the 6th guard. Like, he was the far right tackle. He wasn't
I think that's what it is right now. Actually, we're having such offensive line issues that I'm assuming they're using these tight ends as just like picks. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're right. Actually, that does explain a lot, because your offensive line is super weak, and it 100% likely is due to the fact that Likely, who is also a decent blocker for himself, is Likely and Andrews have probably got to get in the pick and blocking schemes just to support, because you guys got lit up. Your offensive line got lit up on KC, and they're probably reeling.
The other massive concern for Carlos is, where the fuck did Mike Evans go? I literally was praising him all off season, during the draft, the first week. Bro has been a ghost the last 2 weeks, and he's not going up against very difficult defense. I mean, Detroit's pretty decent, and I guess Denver's stingy, and they did lose that game. But 2 weeks in a row, man, combined 10 points in 2 weeks, not a good look for Mike Evans.
Yeah, and it wasn't like his snap count had gone down. Actually, in fact, from the first week, his snap counts went up 79 to 82% of the snaps. He had relatively the same targets last week. He had a dismal target this week with only 3 targets. So, it looks like Mike Evans is probably going to be an efficiency play for the year, right? Like if he's it's almost like he's going to have a little bit. I'm not going to say this to disrespect Mike Evans because he'll probably get it back on the rails. He'll end up with 1,000 yards and 6 or 7 touchdowns, but he might be touchdown dependent now from a fantasy football perspective, right? Just just to see how it might go for him. I don't know, but yeah, very odd. But it could be just a couple of weeks. I don't know what the matchup rating was for these two teams, Detroit and Denver, but obviously, clearly in Denver, he had a rough time.
Not a good look for Carlos and his team because now he is stuck at 1-2 to start the fantasy league.
1-2, that is right. And speaking of 1-2, let's get to how the week is shaping up for next week.
This week's matchup preview.
Well, it's going to be a defining week for certain people. Certain people are going to need certain wins. And starting with the first game, Los Steelers against 2024 Lions team. I can't get over Blake Balake's picture. It's they got their pictures, or at least Carlos is like putting up a picture of Balake there. Every week he just finds a picture of somebody. Listen, obviously the teams are probably going to change. But like this for me, this one's a toss up because yes, right now projections have Balake favored at 146 to 139, but you've always got like X factors in this week, right? Like, Josh Jacobs, this is going to be a rivalry game, right? Like it's, who's the Minnesota's running back again? God,
Aaron Jones.
Aaron Jones going up against his old team, at Lambeau. There's some things that might happen here, right? So you can never tell. Mason might have a great game against that sorry ass team, New England. So but on the other side, you can make the same arguments. Joe Burrow's got Carolina. Seattle's been not that great against St. Brown to probably have a good game. So this is a toss up for me. I don't know where you're landing on who's going to get this win.
I think Blake gets his. I think I went 5 for 5 last week. I'll have to double check the tape, but I'm gonna go 5 for 5 again this week. We're gonna get Blake for his first win of the season, and they're both trash ass teams are gonna be stuck at 1-3.
That's crazy, man. That's crazy. All right, going to the 6-time champs against another trash-ass team, 151 to 148. Where do you see this game? Oh, and by the way, my pick for Leiden and Carlos, just for variety's sake, I'll go with Carlos.
Blake.
You're Blake? I'm going with Carlos.
Okay, cool. I'm playing Leiden. Yeah.
You're playing Leiden. So Leiden versus you. I mean, I don't even have to think about it until you get a significant loss. I think this is an easy win. Houston for the Jaguars going to be okay, but I don't think he's got enough there to beat you.
Yeah, I mean, like it's projections will say I should win, but I'm a little nervous about this matchup. There's a lot of revenge players on Leiden's team right now that need to win and they need to perform. So is it the bounce back week or could it not? Tyreek Hill, who the fuck is throwing him the ball? Travis Kelce hasn't done shit. Brandon Ayuk, even when he was by himself, the star was Brandon Jennings or whatever the fuck his name is in San Francisco, the other wide receiver. So it's like, what is going on? And then, like you said, T. Law going into Houston, who's pissed for losing against Minnesota. Yeah, I should win that.
You don't sound confident, but I think that's just being humble. Alex, if he pays attention to his flipping team, he's going up against the Murphy group. This is the battle of the toilets with an 0-3. just because I know that Rob is a lot more active on his team than what Alex just did for himself. I'm just gonna go with Rob because I don't trust right now Alex and what he did to himself this last week.
You know when like undefeated boxers get together and they're always like, somebody's O has got to go. It's the same thing for these two losers that can't win. Somebody's O's got to go, and somebody has to win unless it's a tie for some fucking reason.
Yeah.
And imagine these two tie. I'm gonna give it to you. Go with Rob. I'm gonna go with Alex. If he could manage his team and make sure that they're playing, he should win this.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a big if. Where there is going to be the game of the week, the one that we're
Yeah.
going to be looking at,
I
is going to
think
be Kibbles and Vicks versus Los Cornudos. You got power versus efficiency. You got, heavy hitters versus snipers. And I don't know, man. Like, I'm nervous for this game. Like, I'm going to be watching this game almost as much as I am my own matchup. But this one's the early candidate of the best game of the season, potentially to come up. So who do you think takes this?
I'm gonna say Brad takes this one. It sneaks a win against the 3-0 Kibbles and Vicks. We could have some crazy matches, but you're right. I think this one's gonna be the king of the hill for the week.
Ooh, yeah. And speaking of King of the Hill,
Shut the fuck up. I'm not buying that snake oil. Blake takes this. Simple as that. Power rankings. Power rankings, boys. Power rankings. Power rankings, boys. Power rankings, boys. The return.
the return of the power rankings. Now, listen, we could go off of all fancy lists and make our lists up in our heads, but we got the freaking standings right here. We've got 3-0 teams. Out of these three, who is the top team? You've got Cowboys, you've got the Kibbles and Vicks, you've got the 6-time world champ. The way just the points for, by the way, 510 for Allen, 503 yourself, and I'm at a worryingly 440. I didn't know I was that far behind you guys. Where do you sit with these 3-0 teams?
I'm gonna be biased. I'm gonna put myself number 1, Kibbles and Vicks number 2, yourself number 3.
All right, well, then I'm just going to go the complete opposite. We're going to go Allen number 1. I'm number 2. You're number 3. No, I think I'm definitely the weaker of the three.
You're still 3-0, though. You're still
3-0 teams. Now, out of the 0-3 teams, this is Leiden's, the 2024 Leiden and Los Murphy groups. Out of those two 0-3, who is this shitty toilet team of this so far young season?
I'm gonna have to say Rob's team is the worst because of the injuries. There's just no way around it. His other players who were supposed to be complimentary can't even help. So it's kind of like this has got to be the worst team. And then you have Blake. Blake as well. Just he has the worst luck this year out of any team outside of Rob, obviously. And then Alex as the best out of the three garbage.
And Alex is yeah, I would say so too. I think Alex is the best out of the garbage teams. And probably you could go Rob and then definitely Toilet at Sid and Balake. But, one win can get you out of this conversation. So, go out there and try and do something. Don't sit there and try to just spend $24, $23, $22 waiver fab dollars. Like the first 2-3 weeks is the max that you're going to get from the waiver wire. At this point, you're just getting bums that you can start every other week. You want to change your team, 0-3 teams, look at the other teams, look at who's doing well, look who's got depth, and try to move a piece. Don't just sit there.
Yeah. Agreed.
Anything else before we close?
No, I guess those other two teams. What is it? The 1 and 2 teams. I guess that's Carlos, Leiden, Brad, and I guess the 2 and 1s, Brad and George. Just a little bit under us, but nobody gives a shit about them. Let's close the show.
That's it. That's all we got. Whenever the song wants to end. There we go.